It started like most quiet nights I have, an empty apartment, the glow of my laptop, and the muffled hum of the city outside. I was scrolling aimlessly, half listening to the background noise of some random video I had put on for company. The remnants of takeout sat cold on the table beside me, and my old college mug, still chipped from years ago, balanced on the edge of the desk. I wasn't looking for anything specific, just something to kill time. That's when I stumbled across it, a live stream link, its title vague and enticing. Exclusive, horror content you can't find anywhere else. It stood out against the usual sea of thumbnails and clickbait, almost like it had been waiting for me to notice it. I hesitated, my cursor hovering over the link. It wasn't my usual kind of thing, but there was something about it. A pull I couldn't quite explain. "Why not?" I said under my breath, clicking. The stream opened instantly. No buffering, no ads. Just a grainy, low-res video feed of a figure seated in a dimly lit room. The background was nondescript. Gray walls, no windows, no furniture. The host sat motionless, dressed in a black hoodie that obscured most of their face. The light seemed to avoid them, leaving deep shadows around their figure. "Welcome," the host said, their voice clear despite the poor video quality. It was warm, almost inviting, but something about it felt off. There was a faint distortion, like multiple voices layered together, just slightly out of sync. I leaned back, watching skeptically as the chat box beside the video lit up with activity. Hundreds of messages scrolled by, too fast to read, though a few caught my eye. "You won't believe what happens next." "Don't look away. They see you now." "Great marketing," I remarked, taking a sip from my mug. But the host's next words made me freeze. "Comfortable?" they asked, their tone casual, almost conversational. "Metallica shirt. Take out on the table. It looks like you're settling in for a lazy night." I stared at the screen, my gut clenching. My first thought was my webcam. I reached up, sliding the covers shut with a sharp click. The host chuckled, the sound low and unsettling. "Oh, that's cute," they said, amusement laced in their voice. "But that's not how this works." I glanced at the chat again, hoping to find some reassurance that this was all part of the show. But the messages offered no comfort. "Run! Too late! Behind you!" It was a trick, I told myself, and a clever, creepy trick, designed to mess with the audience. But the unease gnawed at me, impossible to ignore. That's when I heard it. It was coming from the window. My apartment is on the 4th floor. I stood rooted for a moment, barely breathing. Slowly I turned to look, hoping, praying, to see only the glass reflecting the dim light of my screen. But the tapping continued, louder now, more insistent. I forced myself to stand, the floor cold beneath my bare feet. My hand trembled as I reached for the blinds. I yanked them open. The night stared back, empty and still. My reflection, wide-eyed and pale, hovered in the glass. I let out a shaky laugh, relief washing over me. When I turned back to the screen, the laughter died in my throat. The host was gone. In their place, the live stream now showed a view of my apartment. The live stream showed my apartment, but not through my webcam. The angle was all wrong, too high up, as if someone was filming from the corner of the room. My chest tightened, and my pulse thudded in my ears as the camera panned slowly across the space. It captured everything. The cluttered desk, the cold takeout on the table, even the blinds I had just pulled open. I stared at the screen, unable to move, as the camera paused on me. There I was, sitting hunched in my chair, staring at the laptop in stunned silence. My first thought was to search for a hidden camera. My gaze darted around the room, scanning the ceiling, the walls, every corner. but I found no cameras, no clues, nothing out of place. The stream continued, the camera holding on my image for a moment too long. Then, without warning, I moved. Not me. The me on the screen. The figure tilted its head, its expression shifting to something that sent a sharp chill through me. It grinned. Not a natural grin, but something stretched and wrong, the corners of its mouth pulling far too wide. My own reflection stared back at me, but it wasn't a reflection at all. No, I whispered, shaking my head as if I could deny what I was seeing. No, this is impossible. The grin on the screen widened, and then the figure spoke. It wasn't my voice, not exactly. It was close, but warped, layered with something deep and guttural. Why do you look so scared? Isn't this what you wanted? Something exclusive? I stumbled back, nearly tripping over the chair behind me. My mind scrambled for an explanation. This was a trick, an elaborate hoax. But the words were stuck in my throat, the atmosphere pressing down, suffocating and cold. The figure on the screen leaned forward, its dark, hollow eyes locking onto mine. Its voice dropped to a low whisper, close and unsettling. Turn around. I stood rigid, unable to move, every instinct screaming at me to stay still. But the space behind me felt wrong now, dense and charged, like I wasn't alone anymore. Turn around, the voice repeated, louder this time, more insistent. I turned. There was nothing there, just the faint shadows cast by the dim glow of the laptop. I exhaled a shaky breath, relief washing over me for a brief moment, but when I turned back to the screen, my stomach dropped. The live stream wasn't showing me anymore. It had switched to a view of the hallway outside my apartment. A cold wave swept through me as the camera moved, advancing down the hallway. The flickering light above, the worn carpet, everything was painfully familiar. It was my building, my floor, and it was getting closer to my door. The chat on the live stream erupted with messages. It's at your door. Don't open it. Too late. My door handle rattled. I stared at the door, unable to breathe. The rattling stopped, but the silence that followed was worse. My pulse thundered in my head as I glanced back at the screen. The live stream camera was now pressed against the door, as if something or someone was waiting on the other side. The chat exploded with new messages. It's inside. Run. You've been chosen. No, I whispered, shaking my head. My fingers trembled as I tried to shut the stream again, but the browser wouldn't respond. The cursor lagged, moving sluggishly as if it was fighting against me. Frustrated, I slammed the laptop lid down, cutting off the screen. For a moment, I thought it was over. The tapping, the whispers, the grotesque grin, all of it silenced. But then my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. I pulled it out with trembling hands. A notification lit up the screen. Live stream reconnecting. My thumb hovered over the power button, but before I could press it, the stream opened on its own. The familiar view of my hallway filled the screen again. My door handle jiggled, slow and deliberate. The camera feed changed. It wasn't showing the hallway anymore. It was showing me. It wasn't just a reflection. It stared back, distorted and wrong. My face was pale and hollow, my eyes sunken black voids, and its mouth stretched into a twisted smirk. The figure on the screen spoke again, its voice a warped parody of my own. You're wasting time, it said, tilting its head unnaturally. It's already here. The air in my apartment grew colder, the weight pressing down again. I spun around, expecting to see something, anything, but the room was empty. The shadows deepened, as if they were waiting for something to emerge. I backed into the corner, clutching my phone tightly. The live stream camera moved again, this time showing my living room. It drifted through the space, impossibly smooth, like it was gliding on air. It stopped in front of my desk, the exact spot where I was standing. My phone vibrated again. A new notification popped up. Incoming call, unknown. I stared at it, my chest tight with dread. Against every instinct screaming at me not to, I answered. "Hello?" I croaked, my voice barely audible. The distorted host's voice came through the phone. "You've seen the cracks, haven't you?" they said, their tone mocking. "Between here and there. You've always felt them. That's why you clicked." I tried to respond, to beg, to demand answers, but no words came out. The live stream on my phone shifted again, showing my apartment door. This time it wasn't empty. A figure stood there, tall and shadowy, its head tilted at the same unnatural angle as the one on the screen. It raised a hand, and the door handle turned. The door swung open on the live stream, but in my apartment it stayed closed. I stared at the screen, my body frozen, as the shadowy figure stepped through the doorway. It moved with a jerky, unnatural gait, like a marionette on strings. The camera followed it, gliding silently into the room, and as it approached the desk where I stood, the figure stopped. My breath hitched as I watched the screen. The figure was there, impossibly tall, its limbs unnaturally long and thin, its head tilted sharply to one side. But in my apartment, the air remained still, the door unmoved. Even though the door stayed shut, the room felt alive with something unseen, suffocating the space. The camera view on my phone shifted again, tilting upward, and the shadow's face, or what passed for a face, came into view. Its features were indistinct, blurred, but its hollow eyes locked onto the camera and then onto me. Slowly it raised a hand and pointed directly at the screen. I stumbled backward, dropping my phone. It landed face up on the floor, the stream still running. I wanted to run, to leave the apartment entirely, but my legs felt cemented to the ground, refusing to obey. The figure on the live stream leaned closer, its grotesque head tilting further, its impossible grin stretching wider. Its voice came through my phone speaker, low and warped. "Do you see it now?" it asked. The words stretched out, each one clawing at my nerves. "You've let us in." Suddenly, the live stream camera view shifted again, this time showing the back of my head. My gut tightened as I realized the impossible. The camera wasn't just filming my apartment anymore. It was behind me. The whispers grew louder, surrounding me entirely. A frigid weight settled behind me, its chill needling the back of my neck. I couldn't resist anymore. I forced myself to turn, dread pooling in every inch of me. But when I looked, there was nothing. Just the faint light from my laptop and the clutter of my desk. The room was silent, void of life. The relief was fleeting. My phone buzzed violently on the floor, and when I picked it up, the live stream feed was gone. In its place was a single line of text. "Look closer." Every nerve screamed to look away, but I turned my eyes back to the laptop. The screen flickered, static filling the display, and then the camera view returned. It wasn't showing me anymore, nor the apartment. Instead, it was a dark, endless expanse, the faint outline of a door barely visible in the distance. The host's voice crackled through the speakers one last time, layered with twisted screams and garbled whispers. "It's your turn now," they said, their words dripping with malice. "Step through." The screen went black, and everything went still. The whispers stopped, the static faded, and the oppressive weight lifted. For the first time in what felt like hours, I was alone. Or at least, I thought I was.